Regional Planning Commission meeting with our Zoom video conference. And once again, on this opening statement, it's been determined that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the public health, safety, and welfare in light of the coronavirus. And a recording of this meeting will be made available to the public online. And I'm sure that we might have some watching with us right now. And welcome to all of our commissioners. I look forward to the day when we all can meet in person again. And I love seeing you on the screen, but I look forward to meeting you in person again. And with that, Director Free, would you open us with a word of prayer, please?
Yeah, I sure will. Dear God, this is us. Just thank you so much for this day, and just thank you for so much for this group. And just be with us tonight. Be with the commissioners tonight as they evaluate decisions. Just be with them and be with our community and the health of our community, the physical health of our community, the spiritual health of our community. Just continue to bless us. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And I would note that I believe we have a full quorum. Am I correct, Lauren?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So everybody is here. There are no public hearings tonight. Any requests for information and assistance? Okay, hearing none. Additions to the agenda? Any additions? All right, hearing none. We have the minutes of June 2nd. Do we have a motion to accept?
Move to accept.
Okay, Ms. Longmire abstains, and Mr. Lee abstains.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just on the opening prayer, just extra E in my name, Charles Lee.
Okay. All right. Did you abstain from the last vote on the minutes, or were you just raising your hand?
I was just raising my hand. No,
Okay.
I did not.
We have one abstention, and everything passes then. Okay. We have final plats, and there are three Durham. Excuse me. Three Durham plats that are final plats. Just a question, Keith, on all of these, do we need to consider these alone, or can we approve in block?
No, you could group these in a would
Okay.
be fine. And the developer or the developer applicant has agreed to all staff comments on all three.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I will entertain a motion to that effect here in just a second, but Grant, why don't you go ahead and just give us a summation of these three final plats that we'll be voting on here in a minute. Okay.
Sure thing, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much. And these are some of the last phases of Durham that are being submitted here. Section 33, 34, and 35. And essentially 33 is 70 lots with 20.8 acres of open space.
Can you put that up, please, Lauren?
I don't have it available tonight. I apologize.
Okay, all right. Go
I
ahead.
did,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
oh, no problem. And I did put that in your all staff report, so so that should be there for you guys to have a small version of that, and in addition to your review packet. But we did look at this, and it does match the FDP and everything, the final development plans for this, and then the new development plan that was submitted in 2019 for the phase of the section 35 that was, and section 34 that is actually just 10 lots, and they are the 70-foot minimum wide manor lots. And 35 is a substantial section, very large, includes 17 estate villas, 47 carriage lots, 55 cottage lots. And we also have put in there that we would like the connection to Long Hollow Pike, that's part of phase 36, to be started prior to the recording of these sections. So we want to make sure that that's underway, and that was part of our staff comments, and they all agreed to those.
Okay, just for clarity, for these three final plats, what are the total numbers of lots that are being platted?
Let's see. 80 for the first two, and I'll do some quick math here. Lost you guys. Okay. 17, 47, and 55. I did not calculate. Maybe I can do that real fast.
Yeah, one of the things, Mr. Chairman, is Grant is calculating that. Probably everybody's kind of interested to know, hey, where are they at? You know, you see a lot of houses out there. Where are we at in the number of homes that have been constructed or permitted out there? And I think Grant has that specific number, but I think it's about 38.1%. So there's still a whole lot to go as far as the number of permits to still issue out there and lots to be created.
Okay. Grant, do you got a number on that real quick?
Almost.
Okay. It's not, it's all there. We could calculate that, but I just thought for electronic purposes, people could understand how many total lots. And if you don't have that, that's fine.
Have they given us a timeline as to when these would be completely finished?
Well, it's 199 lots actually, and they get that. I think they intend to have this done within the next couple of years, but we don't have a set timeline on possibly three on what they, and I think this will kind of give you a better picture. What Keith was talking about earlier was there is a total of 1,201 lots in the entirety of Durham Farms, and currently, Lauren pulled the numbers earlier today, and there are 465 units that are built and permitted as of today, and then 194 plats have been 194 lots have been approved, and then there's 542 lots, which is still the majority. These are 542 lots that are in plats that have not been recorded or approved as of yet. So, which this 199 goes toward that total, and there are some still that have not been recorded as of yet. But it is, if you go out there, you can see it's chugging along pretty fast, and we really keep an eye on Durham Farms, and they do a good job with quality, and that's one of the things that's so nice about it.
Okay, thank you, Grant. As is noted, they've agreed with all staff comments. Before we go any further, any commissioners have any questions for Grant or the director on these three plats, final plats with the numbers of lots? Mr. Hardwick, go ahead.
Yes, can you talk a little bit about the Drakes Creek Road and how it's going to connect to Long Hollow? The size of the road, will it have turn lanes? Just talk about that road.
Rick may want to speak to that as well. It is a connection from along Drakes Creek Road, the new section that will connect from essentially the terminus of this existing section 35, where it comes in to Drakes Creek, and it'll proceed on to Long Hollow Pike. It will come out at an intersection with I cannot remember the street name to the subdivision that's in the county across the road from on Long Hollow. So it will be a connection there. There will be a intersection at that point, and I can't recall what if it's intended to be signalized at some point, or if that's part of the agreement with all this. I'm a little foggy on that.
I'm pretty sure that it had turn lanes. I don't think it's signalized, but it had turn lanes. But it's kind of a continuation of what is there now, except you won't have parking along the sides because there's really no development as you go up through there. There will be a potential for something, and we've got a request from the developer to annex that property. Actually, it's kind of really odd, is that piece of where it actually connects up there to Long Hollow Pike isn't in the city, and it isn't even in our urban growth boundary. So we've got to go through a process to get that where we can annex it and rezone it. But there's going to be an opportunity up there probably right there at the intersection of Drakes Creek and Long Hollow Pike. There may be an opportunity for some neighborhood commercial zoning or something where you could put a convenience store or a small retail up there at that location. But the developer they haven't really determined what they're wanting to do up there. But this is something that we're making sure with the approval of this tonight that this odd piece that's going to connect the Long Hollow, which is a key piece of the approval of this whole, kind of dense development residential area. We want to make sure we get that. So we're tying it to the rest of the development and making sure it doesn't just get left off. And then, we have no leverage. So we want to maintain the leverage to make sure that that does occur.
Okay. Thank you, Grant and Keith. Are there any more questions? Okay, what I would entertain, if it's permissible by the commission tonight, since they have agreed with all these comments and these lots are kind of interconnected with these three submittals on these final plats, I would entertain a motion to group phase 4, section 33, phase 4, section 34, phase 4, section 35, and we can take it from there.
So moved.
Okay, we have that motion. And we
Second.
have a second. Who seconded that?
Beth.
Okay, Beth. Okay. All right. Any more discussion on this? Okay. Hearing none, we're going to call the question. We've got a motion to group. All in favor, say aye.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, this is
Aye.
Yeah.
Lauren will need to do a roll call vote because it's a.
That's right. Let's do that.
I'm
I
sorry.
agree with that. I agree with that. I forgot all about it. Thought I was just, So with that, Lauren, call the roll.
Altizer,
Yes.
Brian McCormick,
Yeah, Key. Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Hardcastle,
Yes.
Hardwick,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Longmire,
Yes.
Silkwood. Yes. Stringfellow. I think she's muted.
Yeah, you're muted, Darlene.
Yes.
There you go.
Woodcock
Aye.
and Jenkins.
Yes.
All right, that's 10.
Okay, thank you very much. And now, well, that was, we had a motion to group. That was a yay vote. And now we're going to move to the regular vote for all three plats. So if you'll call the roll one more time.
Will it be the same first and second motion?
Yes, the first vote was we moved to group and had a second. We voted on the move to group in second. So now we're voting question.
All right. Altizer,
Yes.
Brian McCormick,
Yes.
Hardcastle,
Yes.
Hardwick,
No.
Lee,
Yes.
Longmire,
Yes.
Silkwood.
Who's that?
Silkwood. Oh, sorry, yes. Stringfellow,
Yes.
Woodcock,
Aye.
Jenkins.
Yes.
All right, that's 9 and 1.
Okay, so it passes. Now we're going to go on to staff reviewed projects, which are approved. They're in your notes. Durham Phase 3, Section 28B, Forest Chase Sections 1 and 2, lots 10 and 11 consolidation. And there are several staff review pending: Caudell Estates, Doris Barnes Subdivision, Durham Phase 3, Section 28A, Glenbrook North Retail Resub, High Chaparral Section 2, lots 33 and 34 consolidation, Maples Commercial Subdivision, Hazel Path Commons, Michael Archibald Property, Thornton's number 601, it's an exterior remodel, and Verizon small cell. Those are all staff review projects pending. No commission action needs to be taken. We have no other, and planning director comments. Keith, will you share with us, I know you will, but in the comments tonight, would you give us an update on the actions the county took with respect to our planning region, and give us some insight on that?
Yes. Yeah, the county has rezoned all of the parcels of property that were just outside the city limits that were in our planning region. And just for anybody that's listening, I know the commission's familiar with this, but we have the city limits and then we have all the zoning and property within there, but also we're a regional planning commission. So we also had control outside of our city limits within an area called our planning region. We still have a planning region, but within that planning region, we controlled the zoning. But effective July the 1st, the county commission has rezoned those they have the ability to do that. They've rezoned all those parcels into county zoning. So our zoning no longer is in effect within that planning region. So we have no control or enforcement of the zoning ordinance within that area. It leaves it's a very odd, weird situation because we no longer have any say on the zoning outside within the planning region. But we, at the same time, just like what we approved, these plats, where people are subdividing property and things like that, preliminary plats, final plats, we have the authority to do that. So it's going to create a very confusing situation where the planning commission will be responsible for the management of plats and approving plats. But it's not under our zoning ordinance, it's under the county zoning ordinance. So there's going to be conflict that's going to occur out in these areas. That's going to be very confusing for these people that are out there. There are several communities that have this kind of odd setup, and it actually just creates confusion for everybody. There's no particular leverage as the city for us to control out within the planning region, on maintaining it. So one thing we'll be doing is we'll be looking here over the next couple of months to determine, do we want to revert back from a regional planning commission to a metropolitan planning commission? The only real changes with that would be the name. And then also we would not be enforcing subdivision regulations out within that area. Also, the other thing would be is if we went back to a municipal planning commission versus a regional, then Commissioner Hartcastle's position, and it used to be Mr. Altizer's, where they lived within that planning region, but outside of the city limits, that commission seat would have to be replaced with somebody that lives within the municipal boundaries. So those are some of the things that are going on with that. It's a pretty big change, and it's going to create quite a bit of confusion for a lot of the folks. Now, the zoning that the county did was pretty good. Our ER zoning, they pretty much zoned it something similar to ER. The problem with some of it is that several of those areas that were already developed, they were zoned SR1, and so they went from like our SR1 and are rezoned to something similar to ER. So what'll happen, like for example, if there's a planned development within these areas, then the county basically will decide, yeah, we want to do that planned development. We really won't have really any say in it. And then they'll get everything approved or not, if they get it approved, then they'll come to us and you guys will be voting on the approval of the subdivision plats. And then on those, just like the ones tonight, if they meet all the requirements, they're really, you're voting to approve or deny, but really there's no reason to deny if they're meeting all the requirements. So, it wouldn't be something where it would be appropriate, in a situation we didn't like the development, to just deny the subdivision plat because there really wouldn't be there's really not a reason, to deny it unless we had just cause, unless there were reasons, why we were doing that because it didn't meet, our subdivision regulations. I hope that kind of explains it. It's kind of a complicated thing, but that's kind of the layman version of it. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, why were we not alerted this change was going to occur if it was going to negatively impact our ability to control and maintain high standards on the area that's in our original planning area now. And the second question would be this: I'm assuming Gallatin was impacted just like we were impacted. And I mean, I did read about this in the paper, but I mean, this does sound like something we've been advocating either for or against or been involved in.
Yeah, they had, and it wasn't just Hendersonville, it was all the cities. So all the cities that have that, it impacted all of them. But no, I mean, they notified the city, and so, I mean, we've been aware that they were rezoning that, but you know, that's they're really, you know, I don't know as far as the advocacy against it, exactly what happened with that. But basically, it's a decision that if the majority of the county commission determined that to be, then that's, you know, then that's the case. It had been something for several years, I think, that had been kind of bantered around to do, but evidently they were doing changes to their zoning ordinance, and they went ahead and did it.
Okay.
Well, I had the pleasure of serving on the county planning commission at one point. And at that time, the philosophy was that in these areas that were not a part of any city regional area, but we tried to leave it up to the cities and the other regional planning areas to do that. I'm just wondering why this change occurred. And again, you know, I do understand it's a county commission action, but all of those county commissioners represent people that live in our cities too. So, I mean,
Right.
I really just feel like, Keith, we were not very well informed about this. If it really is negative, now, if you don't really think it's negative and maybe we should be doing, then I'm very comfortable with that.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't
just,
think.
I
Yeah,
was going to say, just before you answer that, I had the same, issues, Charles, with this when it first came up, as to the legality, you know, of it. Can a county commission actually come in and essentially strip a planning region? And, you know, I'm satisfied that, you know, they do have the authority to do that. But in looking at it, this could be a situation where, and I think we will see that these developers probably, and I think we're going to see with this plat that Keith was talking about a little bit earlier, where the developers are actually going to come to us and want us to annex them to be part of our planning region. And that may indeed have a more positive effect than some of the issues we've been having where, you know, we have subdivision regulations that apply to the city, but because of our planning region, they were imposed on outside of the city limits. And there always was that, you know, that kind of push and pull there. With this, it does give developers an opportunity, if they so choose, to be a part of our planning region and request annexation. Am I right on that, Keith?
yeah, I think that's true. And really, Dr. Lee, kind of where I'm coming from on it is, it either needed to be like it was or nothing. But this in between that they've created, that's what's creating the difficulty in it, the potential difficulty for confusion. But, you know, really, this whole planning region thing was set up when cities like Hendersonville could annex pretty freely, and so it made a lot of sense. But it hasn't made a lot of sense for a while, because really, unless you know, property owners are requesting it, we can't annex the property anyway. But yet we're going outside the city limits to exert our zoning control, you know, on that. And then the county cannot remove our designation as a regional planning commission. They can only take over the zoning part of it. But you can kind of see this in between that it leaves us in. That's really where I'm kind of, which is going to force us to probably need to do something. It's either two things. We'll just kind of live with it and people will be very frustrated and it'll be very confusing, or we need to take action to go ahead and revert back to a municipal planning commission instead of a regional. But in the, I think in what the county has in their zoning ordinance, it doesn't, when we rezone property, we look at findings of fact and, hey, does it line up with our future land use map and all of that and our plan? Theirs does not refer to our future land use map and their rezoning. So we could have it, we could have a future land use map out there, but it's not going to impact their decision other than maybe a courtesy of looking at it. So I'm not for sure what it holds for development, out there. It could be, I think like what David's saying is it could be with the county rezoning that there may be less opportunity for more dense development through the county, but, and then some of those developers may request annexation and rezoning and be in a position where they'll work more with the city. It's just going to be difficult to determine. The good thing is that these areas, the amount of area that was really undeveloped within this planning region, we pretty much gobbled up most of our old planning region with developments over the last 10 to 15 years. So there's not a whole lot of undeveloped areas within this planning region. Most of them are just areas around Arrowhead and Stop 30 within that kind of area where there's already development that's already occurred. There's not really a lot of opportunity for development to happen. So we'll just have to kind of see how it plays out. But now we're going to have to make a decision to kind of live with it and the headaches of it, or do something to change it back to municipal planning commission.
Okay. And I would assume that in the months to come that you'll have a report for us as to what the staff feels like needs to be done.
Yeah, and we're evaluating that with the Tennessee codes and everything to determine what are those differences. It is a little confusing what those differences are between municipal and regional planning commissions, but we're going to parse all that out so we know exactly what those differences are. I don't think they're not very significant, at least on the surface of them, but we're gonna dig deeper into that now that we know. Up until this point, until they passed it on June the 29th, it hadn't passed. But now it's done. So we've got to move forward and figure out what to do on that.
Okay. Any other comments, Keith, on anything else?
Yeah, I had two other things. The city, you're probably familiar, the city had approved its annual budget for next year, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and a couple of things that they did with that budget and some different changes that impact the planning department and planning. One thing is that Rod Kirk, our economic development professional that was working out of the mayor's office, that position has been moved to the planning department. And so Rod is now a member of the planning staff. So we'll be looking to integrate him into some of our planning efforts and make sure that we support his efforts with the economic development in the community. Also, one other thing that BOMA had done on approval of the budget is they approved $80,000 that would go toward assisting the planning staff to undertake a revitalization plan of all of West Main Street from the city entry at the bridge all the way to Drakes Creek Park or Memorial Park. And then also include all of the Old Town area, where we're going to reevaluate all of that whole area and look at a redevelopment plan and potential rezoning of those areas. And so we'll be doing that over the next year and a half. We'll use this funding that they set aside. If we were just going to hire a consultant to do it, it'd probably be a $220,000 project. But the planning staff is going to take that on, and then we'll utilize the $80,000 to help supplement to bring professionals in to do different aspects of it. But we'll lead those efforts. And so we're excited about that. I think it's something I'd say one of the number one things people are asking the planning staff about is about West Main Street and Old Town and what's going on with that and how can we, draw more investment within those areas. So we're going to be looking at that area in a fresh new way to look at how we can draw investment, draw more stability to that area, and then balance that where we're balancing that, where we're doing things that add to the community, but don't take away from it, don't create any new problems, but create more opportunities is kind of what we're looking at. So we're going to do something, it's going to be quite a bit different, the approach that we're going to take on looking at that. And those were the two things that I had, Chairman.
Thank you. And we appreciate that. And that's exciting news about the West Main new look, and also about Economic Development Director's position joining the planning group. That's good.
And Mr.
All right.
We do that West Main Street. The
Yeah.
staff's intention is that the planning commission will be heavily involved in that process. So
I look forward to that. That's going to be great.
Okay.
All right. Is there any other, Daryl, please?
Keith, I've got a few questions about the county's action, if that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, sure.
So I've got several questions. So the first one is, I want clarification on an example. So the property that Davidson Academy owns that the developers met with a lot of the members regarding their plan for that, is that in the city limits or was that just in our planning region?
No, I think that's in the city limits. But like, for example, that, remember when Goodall down Jones Road, all of that was in the planning region. It wasn't in the, city limits. And that's a good example of one of them.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Yeah, that was the first one I thought of. Have we heard anything about the Davidson Academy property?
No,
their
there's several folks looking at it. It's been a consistent stream of people over the last year that are looking at potential things. We have a mixed bag of folks that have been looking at that. Of course, I mean, I had one today. I had two last week. We've always got folks also looking for wanting to do multifamily development, but it's something where anybody has the opportunity to move forward with an application on that. But I try to be very transparent and give them the advice of what the community's appetite is for those types of things. So of course, on this piece of property, we've had a ton of folks, really interested in, full multifamily on that.
Yeah, that was the plan they presented to me, and
yeah, so
they told me they're going to wait after the election. But
development is probably appropriate on that.
So second thing, can you provide me a reason why the county thought this was a better route to take?
No, they didn't. No, I don't really.
I mean, I can't think of any outside of helping a developer. I'm not saying the county did that because of that, but I'm saying that's the only people it helps, in my opinion, is the developers.
Oh, you're talking about the planning region?
Yes.
Yeah.
How does it benefit the county?
Yeah. I mean, I think, I think it was difficult for us. We did it because that's what we do. We enforce things, and we enforce things within the planning region, just like we enforce within the city. But certainly there's certainly folks that we have made do things within the planning region. It just didn't make sense to them because they're in the county. And, I could explain to them, to the different folks, how the planning region works and why, why we had that authority. But, there's been through the years, there's been, several property owners that it didn't make sense to them. And I mean, I understand where they're coming from, and more than likely several of those things over the last 5 to 10 years probably have impacted it, but I do not know what the decision makers at the county, what the nexus was of why they went ahead and did this movement.
So my last thing, and correct me if I'm wrong at any point, because this is how I'm seeing it, is I've had several developers threaten, if you don't approve this plan, we'll just stay in the county and build what's already approved in the county versus going through our process. And so now that they don't have to come through the city, they're more likely to build to the lower standard. And then after they're completed, maybe then ask to be annexed. But I see no benefit whatsoever for a development to annex before, if we're going to make them build to a higher standard that's more expensive than what the county is going to allow. Is that accurate?
Well, yeah, I think if the county allowed a more dense development, if they were going to allow that, but if they didn't, then that provides more leverage for the city to get a quality plan development and a potential annexation, along with that. These are going to be things that, we're going to be faced with depending on how that goes. And it's hard to project, what kind of developments that the county would be approving within those areas. One thing they did approve was at Anderson and Jones Road. They approved the retreat at Norman Farms, I believe, which it's a nice development, but it was a more dense development than the base zoning was. So that is one example within that similar kind of area of a recent approval from the Planning Commission in the county.
I got you. And I'm not blaming anyone, or I wouldn't even know who to blame, but I do wish the commission was informed of the vote that was going to take place right before a holiday. So maybe we could have voiced some type of concern, or at least our opinions at the public meeting.
Yeah, I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, I hear nothing. Nicole, do you have a motion?
The motion to adjourn. Do we have?
We have a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Mr. Altizer, all in favor, say aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.